Dear friend, I'm very happy that you have started putting these practices into your daily life. Eastern wisdom says, all the text says that we should learn from a teacher. And the teacher says that you learn, I will guide you from the body of knowledge. So, the teacher fundamentally personalizes the teachings, the knowledge, and the practice that maximize the result. But it does not only depend on the teacher, the commitment from a seeker. Is that commitment belongs to the teacher, or is the seeker commits to the teacher? No. The seeker commits to the knowledge. One seeker commits to herself or himself to bring about a fundamental change in life. So, what is that fundamental change? That fundamental change is the goal of the Eastern wisdom for a seeker. What is that goal? The goal is to bring an end to the suffering, first point. So it means when we want to bring an end to the suffering, we should examine, understand, find out the nature of the suffering, and then we apply the means, and that mean is known as the practice. And the second fundamental change is that now you experience the peace and happiness, love, truth, and wisdom 24/7. Not a moment passes where you don't experience the inner peace and happiness in your life. So, that state is known as awakening. Understand it clearly and put it into your mind so that we will treat the path continuously to reach to that state. So the first fundamental change, that is what we say, awakening. Why fundamental change is known as awakening? Because that real self, that true nature is already there within us. But we are not aware of it. We wake up every day with the same old routine, habit, anxiety, duality, conflict, problem, suffering. Even if we don't want. So the first, in the fundamental change, that is what is known as awakening. What does it mean? That now you wake up in the morning and you are aware that you are of the real nature. And in that real nature, inside you, there is no suffering at all. But now you see the suffering do not touch you, but it is still there. So after awakening, you start realizing them. So you continue to realize your real nature, at the same time, you, if I say you infuse the consciousness in every moment in your life, so that those moments and the causes of the suffering do not touch you at all. And then the third level comes, which we say the transformation. So after awakening, you start living your life day by day with the same people, in the same condition, with the same circumstances. But now, that gives you an opportunity to transform yourself completely. After all, science does any research, but unless it is applied, how can you prove that this gadget works? So when there is a fundamental change at the first level, the awakening is there, the realization is there. Now you are living with the same people, you are doing the same profession, you are working with the same people, there is also a day and night in your life, but now inner transformation is there. Now when you see the person, before you had the stress, anxiety and the fear, but now there is a peace and love and truth and wisdom. How it comes? That is what is we say, practice. So practice is a English word, but Eastern wisdom says that practice contains two elements. One is regular practice that obviously you have been doing, and the second is practice in the mind through the knowledge. Did you get it? Practice in the mind through the knowledge. Can I say it is a knowledge practice? The answer is yes. It is a knowledge practice. How can you practice knowledge? I don't know you, so I don't have a knowledge about you. And then you tell me your name, I feel your gender, and then you tell me your profession, and that's how I know a little bit about you. So what is the practice? I pay attention to the information that you give me. So do you pay attention to what you are learning as far as the knowledge is concerned? But why the practice has two elements? First is the practice. Second is what I said, the knowledge practice. This knowledge removes the ignorance. What is that ignorance? That I do not know my real nature. Because of not knowing, there is a false notion, ideas in my mind. So then I work for those false notions. What are those false notions? You are responsible for my stress and suffering. Blame, complain, and game. You see, the first content comes. Now you wake up in the morning, the body has an acute pain, and the mind says, see, you are suffering. So what is the false notion in it? That you are not the body. Then who you are? You are the real self, the pure consciousness. You see, knowledge. But, okay, I understand that I am not the body, but I don't feel it. So to feel it, you do the practice, and to know it, you must have the knowledge. So there are two parts of the practice. Always remember. Now question comes, why you should remember? that will take you to the next level of the journey. Why you should remember. You live in your house? Yes. But until you know where the house is located, where the house is, you cannot live in that house. So the knowledge plus living in the house is the practice. Are you getting it? Very simple principles, but when you start thinking the way the teacher is thinking for you, what does it mean? I told you that you are not the body. So what is the knowledge part? You sit for a few seconds, look at the body, feel the sensation in the body, check the mind is one-pointed, and now ask your mind itself. You are communicating with yourself. Here is the body. Am I the body? Here is the house. Am I the house? Here is a car. Am I the car? No, it is separate. But I don't feel that I am separate from the body. Really? Why do you feel that I am separate from your relations and family? And why you feel that you are one with your near and dear ones? Is the person not separate from you and still you say near and dear ones? Look at it. Knowledge part. I'm just citing an example, then we'll go back to the topic today. Yes, you say my son. Instantly mind says relation. The instant you look at this guy, a person, not relation. I'm also a human being and your son is also a human being. So what happened to your mind? Something happened to your mind. That is why you say relation. That is why you say not related. So what happened to the mind? The mind, when it says near and the dear ones, there is a sense of sticking. Mind sticks like a glue to a person whom we say relation. Stranger, far away, separate, far away. So what did I say now? Come to the conclusion. The I am, the mind sticks like a glue to the body. That is why we say, even after understanding, I am not the body, I feel I am the body. So after understanding, we do the practice. The time comes, the practice is hardly 1%. Knowledge is 99% and you are already there. With fundamental change. That is what? So, now see, knowledge takes place in the mind. Well, when I say I know you, the mind gives me that knowledge that I know you. So the problem is there in the mind. But the mind lives in 5 subjective states. And so understand, the mind is constantly running due to the 5 or due to the 3 subjective states. The mind loses awareness. When it loses awareness, it becomes habitual. When it becomes habitual, it remembers the past. So what is contained in the past? Our past has all the anxiety, events that we hated, we reacted, etc., etc. So our master says that first state of the mind is wandering. The mind is constantly wandering and lost in the world outside. When it is lost in the world outside, then you forget yourself. When you forget yourself, then you do not know. You do not even remember that the peace is your essential nature. It gives rise to the second state of the mind. What is the second state of the mind? We say normally mudha, insane mind. What is insane mind? When this mind becomes one with the object and the people outside, with the event outside. My son, my daughter, my money, my body. Money is inert, dead matter. You are living beings, so living and the inert, they go together and they create a state of the mind which is known as insane. And we already know the insane mind cannot be happy. Do you still remember what we are? We are understanding what exactly is the practice. The practice has two components. One is that regular practice. You should continue the practice that we had done last time. At the same time, you are gaining the knowledge. Why to gain the knowledge? To remove the ignorance. Why to remove the ignorance? Because that is the fundamental cause of suffering. So where the knowledge takes place? It takes place in the mind. Where? Which mind? Your mind. So we are understanding the very nature and the states of the mind. So once we understand, we can remove the states of the mind not required, and then we will enter into permanent peace and happiness, love and wisdom. So the first subjective state is the wandering mind. Second is the insane mind. And third is distracted mind. What is that? You're doing the practice. I'm guiding. I gave one instruction, but the mind is going somewhere. Distracted. You're in the kitchen preparing a tea or coffee. Then what? Then this mind is thinking of something else. When it is constantly thinking of something else, there is a gap between what you do and what you think. You commit mistakes, not only in life, but your expression towards the people. Being upset, anxious, reaction, blame, complain, they all start. So it means the first three subjective states of the mind should not be present in my life that causes the suffering. They should be, if they are present, they should not be related to anything that causes the pain to me. That is what the practice means. You wake up in the morning and the mind says every day is a good morning. Not only you say, but you mean it. But the moment the mind says it is a bad morning, these three states are working. Just instantly pick up wandering, insane, or what we say, the forgetfulness and the distraction. You are feeling the bad morning only because of your mind, not because of the sun is giving a less light to you today and more light to me. Are you getting it? I believe so. So we are understanding the different states of the mind and which particular state of the mind is causing the problem, the three states of the mind. Fourth is the ekagrata, which is known as one-pointedness. One-pointedness means that one-pointedness means that your mind is 100% clear about the real self. The mind is 100% clear about the goal of life. And you are aware of these three subjective states of the mind. Simply aware, you know it. And you are making an effort to change these states. To continue to live in the fourth state. Why? In the fourth state of the mind, you are a seeker. And the seeker always succeeds. You seek to go to your office. Every day you go to the office and you succeed. You see? Departure point is clear. Arrival point is clear. Isn't it? You want to buy food, you go to the food store. Departure point is clear. Arrival point is clear. Are you getting it? You want a cup of tea. You don't land up into the restroom, but you go to the kitchen. Departure and the arrival point is clear. Why are you practicing? Is the departure point clear or arrival point? Both are clear? If they both are clear to you in your mind at all time in life, nobody dares to cause any stress and suffering in your life. There may be a stress and suffering because of the past impression, and we will work on it. But at least you are 100% clear. You are a seeker. You know that you are reaching there. You are going to realize your true nature. So our master says, Abhyas Vairagyabhyam Tannirodha. The practice means two steps. One is the regular practice. I have personalized specially practices for you, and that has helped you. And I will continue to personalize these practices as you evolve and rise into the higher consciousness. First part. And the second part, here the word is used, dispassion. That is what we are going to understand. The word is used, dispassion. Dispassion means not having any passion. Not having any passion means the mind is not sticking like a glue to anything outside. Object, people, place, things. At the same time, the mind is also not attached like a glue to the body, to the mind, to the past impressions, to the memories. Dispassion. How can you practice dispassion? Example, then I'm attached to a person. Should I hammer my head to get a dispassion? No. Hammering will not work. knowledge will work, understanding will work. So if we give the knowledge to the mind, the right knowledge, it loosens the knot of bondage. But how to give the knowledge? So there we say viveka. Dispassion comes by viveka. What is viveka? Viveka, English term, is discernment. Discernment means what? To separate. Here is a car, here is I am. I see I am different and separate from the car. I am not the car. So when I am the car, it means car and me. One is inert, one other is conscious. They both go together. That creates an insane mind. I told you, just we discussed. So, viveka, discernment. So, what is the ultimate discernment? We separate real from the unreal. We separate from the false to the truth. We separate fear from the fearlessness. We separate insecurities in the mind to securities, permanent securities in the mind. We separate pleasure from peace and happiness. Where we separate? We separate in the mind. How? Do you still remember what we are doing? We are understanding practice that leads to the fundamental change in our life. What are those two fundamental changes? End of suffering once and for all, my friend. And after that, awakening to real self, realizing it, and transforming the life. Practice has two elements. Remember? Regular practice that you are doing and knowledge part. So, this master says that practice is two-element practice and dispassion. So we understood the dispassion, and we have also understood that dispassion comes because of discernment, separating. Can I separate my body from me? No. But I can separate my body from my real nature through the knowledge in the mind. As far as car is concerned, I can know that this is my car and I am not the car. It is far away. But when it is very close, the mind is sticking like a glue to the body, and the mind and the past event and the impressions, I have to separate it from by the knowledge. So discernment, we have reached to the discernment. So how to attain that discernment? That is where I told you that I lived with my master for more than 26 years. I was a fool and insane. I'm still is, in some way. So, now see that practice is one thing. Personalization of the practice, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, plus the knowledge part. So this knowledge is not available outside. It is not available in smartphone. It is not available in science. This Eastern wisdom is another science. So we have to follow the principles and the practices of Eastern wisdom. You have a physical bullet into your body, science works. But if you have a bullet of ignorance, bullet of hatred and of jealousy, of anger, of reaction, it has to be removed by the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom. So the master gives guidelines, many masters in the books. And my master used the same thing. Satasangatve nisasangatvam. Satasang. Listening to the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom. What it happens, it loosens the knot, which is sticking like a gum. And when it loosens the knot, nisasangatve nirmohatvam. So once it loosens the knot, you realize here is a delusion, you remove the delusion. So once you remove the delusion, then what happens? Nirmohatve nischal tattvam. The moment you remove that attachment, means that passion, that removes the delusion. And once you remove the delusion from the mind, the false notion from the mind is already steady. It is one-pointed. I just explained you. Only the person with a one-pointedness succeeds. Now you have a one-pointedness, you are doing the practice, a single practice helps you reach to that state. But it takes time. The knowledge is realized in stages. You see, I summarized what exactly is the practice so you remember. I gave you a couple of words so that you can understand. Practice, dispassion, discernment, listening, the principles of Eastern wisdom, detachment, removing of delusion, natural steadiness of the mind, practice, awakening and realization. All knowledge takes place in the mind. Now we understand that other part. Every knowledge. Knowledge of hatred, knowledge of jealousy, knowledge of anger, knowledge of past impression, knowledge of peace, knowledge of happiness, knowledge of love, knowledge of wisdom. Everything happens in the mind. So when the weed grows in your front yard or the backyard, what you do? You remove the weed. What is weed? Weed is also a plant. What is not weed? That is also a plant. What you do? You carefully remove the weed so that you allow the other plants which are beneficial, which are good, which are helpful to you, which looks nice. Did you understand that both are the plants? Both are plants. One plant we say weed, other plant we say, we have to keep it. They are good. In the mind, we have thoughts, feeling, sensation. One sensation you translate as anxiety, the other sensation you translate as calm and relaxation. So the sensation that defines the anxiety, reaction, hatred are weeds, have to be removed. And the sensation in the thoughts pertaining to peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom has to be kept. Is it clear? That is your profession, so you know it. How you remove the weeds? Spray, use the machine, uproot the weeds, many different ways. That is the practice that I give you. What? Yes. Mind is the home of all the problems. Mind is the home of permanent peace and happiness, where we realize it, at least, if I say it is a home. Real self is of the nature of peace and happiness. Are you getting it? So, the thoughts that are feeling and the sensations that are weed has to be removed permanently. It depends what type of a weed it is. Very long past impression buried deep inside your mind takes time. You start digging the soil of the mind by different practices, by the knowledge that you are gaining every week, and then you contemplate and reflect. Some weeds, they start sprouting and you say, oh, remove them, spray. So can we say that the mind is the cause of suffering, mind is the cause of happiness? If you have weeds, causes suffering. If you have plants, you have peace and happiness. Means both weed and the plants both are plants. Both are thoughts. Are you getting it? Both are thoughts. I think I'm stressed, and time comes I'll be in stress. I'm in peace, but I say I'm in peace because peace is my essential nature. So you see, that is the only difference. That is the part of the knowledge that we put it into our mind. Mind is the cause. So we have understood the previous verse. What was the previous verse? Now see, when the mind is detached, which is sticking like a glue, when the weed is uprooted from the soil of your backyard or the front, what happens? It dries out. How to get that? I told you, by dispassion. How to get that dispassion? By discernment. What is that discernment? I think rightly. I know here is a weed. Here is a plant. Here is a false notion, the false thinking. Here is a right thinking. So I stick to the right thinking and I remove the false thinking. Discernment. But how to think? Based on the principles and the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom. Why only the Eastern wisdom? because it is an instrument of knowledge that helps us to discover what is my real nature. So you don't ask why you use the equipments of landscaping, because it helps to remove the weeds, put the tree into orderliness by trimming. You create a pavement, a boundary, a fencing by those instruments. So instant wisdom is the same instrument. What else to know? Remember, we are understanding the practice. Again, I'm repeating in a different way, the practice. Departure and the arrival point, you're clear. You can only be clear of departure and arrival point by the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom, the mind. Then we understood the subjective states of the mind, the wandering state. It will not help. Forgetfulness or insane, it will not help. Distracted state of the mind, it is not going to help you. So it means I have to reach to the one-pointed state of the mind by knowing the departure and the arrival point clearly. By regular practice. Again, the practice has two components. Practice plus dispassion. But the dispassion can take place in my mind only when there is a discernment. And discernment by thinking, removing the false notion, the false thinking, sticking to the right thinking. How it happens, I told you, by learning and listening the principles of Eastern wisdom loosens the knot of attachment. What will happen one day I am talking, you are listening, and the thing clicks in you. What happened last week? That is what you did. So that clicking, that spark will take place in your mind and you say, I am there. So that detachment drops the delusion. The delusion, when you drop it, leads to steadiness of the mind. And that steadiness of the mind is you do the practice. In that state of the mind, you succeed. So then we understood mind is the cause. How the mind? Mind is the field. Mind is, you can say, the front yard or the backyard, where both grows, weed also grows, plants also grows. When you water the plants, subconsciously, without knowing, we water the weeds also. Do you understand? Weed means those thoughts. Why? Because their seed is already present in the soil of the mind. And because we need to employ different ways and the means, I told you the knowledge is not realized in stages. Knowledge is not realized in stages. Knowledge is realized in stages. It cannot be realized at once. The seed does not become a tree overnight. You see that we have been doing the practice regularly and you are sharing the experiences. For ordinary people, they fail even to understand. Even your near and dear ones. You should have a compassion for them. So are you clear to move a step further? We have understood backyard, front yard. Mind Your backyard, front yard, even the weed grows along with the plants. We understood. So, what is the goal? To remove all the weeds, to keep the plants. Both are plants. Means whether the thought is thought, but thought contains anxiety, past impression, reaction, blame, complaint. It is still a thought. And the thought contains peace, happiness, love, wisdom. That is also a thought. So I told that is a weed. This is not a weed. Do you have a question in your mind? And that is very important question. You have planted many plants that you like in your backyard. I see that it grows, it gives the beauty. Two things. But you only know the weed when they sprout. They look like plants. You know your anger, your hesitation, your reaction. When you feel it, means what? They are present in the seed form of which we are not aware. Did you understand that? Those seed impressions are present in the mind at a very deeper level that we do not know, understand. The way the weed, you cannot find the seed of the weed. But you are watering the plants, giving the fertilizer, and after a few weeks you see the weed has grown. From where? I didn't sow this weed. Seed impressions in the mind. Seed impressions in the mind are known as vasanas. There are millions and trillions of these thoughts in the form of a seed is already present in the mind, needs to be totally removed. But unless they sprout, I have challenges in my life. They are known as impressions in the mind. Then it is because now I recognize them, so I can either spray, dig, uproot after digging the soil, or do the different treatment that you do in landscaping. We are talking of abhyasa, and in the journey I introduced smaller bits and bits of knowledge. The practice is two elements: regular practice, knowledge, how dispassion comes by discernment, how discernment comes by thinking, how the right thinking works when I recognize which one is the weed, which is not. But now we have come to a point, we have asked a question that from where this weed has come. I did not sow the seed. When we were born, as a baby, laughing, sucking the milk of mom, playing with the toys, did we have a desire for sensuality? No. But when we have grown up, that sensuality has taken the shape. Can I say that that was present in the seed form in us? Do you see that? when we were born, playing with the toys, no anger and no anxiety. Did we go to the school to learn anxiety and anger? No, it was present within us and they manifest in our day-to-day life. Are you getting it? Weed, you did not sow the seed, still it is there. It grows out. When it grows out, you know them. When you know them, you take a decision, it is not required, so you give a particular treatment. That is what we are doing in our weekly journey. So even if I'm calm totally at present, the seed impression is present inside me, of which I'm not aware. Did you understand that? So how many impressions? Millions and trillions of impressions are present. So if the millions are there, it will take many lives. No. If you follow this two-step practice, plus this passion, knowledge part. That is what you did last week. The knowledge awakened. It was a spark and you were riding the bike. And you felt so much of calm and the peace. That is one of the many ways to uproot the seed. This week, listen to it again and again, and then contemplate on the principle asato ma satgamaya, moving from the false to the truth, false notion to the truth. What did you learn? Recap in your mind. Think of it. Contemplate and reflect. Why you think of it? One set of thought, weed. Other set of thought, peace and happiness. So you install the knowledge, you trim the soil, you trim the plants in your head. Not required. What is not required, through it. And that is the journey of Eastern wisdom. We'll continue understanding this very practice. What exactly is the practice? Once that is fully installed in your mind, and then you do the practice. You are doing the practice in the steadiness of the mind. In that state of the steadiness of the mind, every practice succeeds. You need only one. So it means what? Until then you are constantly changing your life by understanding the principle, by doing the practice. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.